Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining my session and welcome back to JProK 2022. And my name is Daniel O. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to become superhero in the Kubernetes native Java application development. So just a quick introduce myself. My name is Daniel O. I'm working for Red Hat as developer advocate with specialized cloud native runtime such as Quarkus, Spring Boot, and JavaScript, etc. And then I've been spent a lot of time bringing this kind of cloud native runtime into Kubernetes with the specific use cases, for example, serverless, service mesh, and GitOps practice, etc. And then I'm also responsible CNCF ambassador, try to evangelize developers and SRE and the platform engineers how to build their cloud application and as well as architecture across cluster like a multi-hybrid cloud platforms based on Kubernetes. So here's my contact information. If you have any question around myself and my technical specialty, feel free try to subscribe my YouTube channel and follow my Twitter. And then here's my GitHub repository. I already push all demo tutorial example on my GitHub repository. So just in case someone never ever heard about what Quarkus is for, and then specifically why need to think about Kubernetes and native Java. So, and a more important question is how you make your existing microservices to like a cloud native Java application. It's not about just when you deploy your microservice application into Kubernetes. That does not mean your application Kubernetes native Java. So let me explain what kind of thing, characteristic, and the behavior make your microservices as a cloud native Java apps. So one thing, let's take one step back, try to understand Java's behavior 2 decades ago. So Java was designed for a dynamic behavior and running on all the time in a virtual machine and a bare metal a few application and to handle the business workloads at a time, which is really awesome because you can build Java application like a WAR file, ER file, like a Java artifact, and then running on any JVM, any middleware app server with a JVM machine. And then things changed that back in 2014, Kubernetes was born to provide immutable infrastructure for the cloud with the high scalability and fast resilience, and then which is really fit in the cloud network architecture. So with that, so dynamic behavior of Java technology is not anymore benefit or capability in this Kubernetes architecture and the platforms. So that's a big reason why Quarkus was designed and was born a couple of years ago, invented by Red Hat, and there are so many individual developers, and then even the vendors and the companies really jump in this Quarkus project and make it better every single day, improve the capability and the features, and then make it greater every single day. So the Quarkus, so we can say the supersonic subatomic because the Quarkus allows developer to build a tiny application with a small memory footprint and super fast startup and response time. I'm going to showcase a little bit in the next live demo in a minute. So here's a quick illustration how to make you become superhero like the Marvel comic. I'm really super fan of Iron Man and the Captain America, by the way. Anyway, so this is the path how to make your just normal Java application Kubernetes Java apps. You can start Quarkus framework to develop any kind of application like an imperative application, reactive application. And then it's not only build application as container and deploy Kubernetes, but also Quarkus enable Java devs to integrate Kubernetes features and functionality. For example, you spend a lot of time how to externalize the configuration and then store security information into your file system or external database or metadata system. However, when you adopt Kubernetes and deploy your Microsoft application into Kubernetes, and then you definitely needed to consider how to integrate Kubernetes resources and manifester to deal with that kind of stuff, like a compilation or secret information, etc. Also, in a traditional microservice architecture, you can implement like a service discovery or service resiliency on your Java method and code and class and compilation. However, when you deploy your Java app into Kubernetes, Kubernetes actually can take care of service discovery resiliency based on replica set and deployment and service just like a Kubernetes fundamental features. So here's the thing, a big challenge for Java developer, how to integrate the Kubernetes feature into your Java apps without a steep learning curve. So as you can see right hand, the Quarkus allows developer the packaging application with the traditional way, like a just-in-time compile strategy. You can have like a fast start and running on JVM, but also you can have a native executable file with the Quarkus framework, which allows like a small, tiny the executable file. I mean, small memory footprint and the fast startup time. I don't want to say you're gonna have a native executable file for all your Microsoft application on top of the Kubernetes. However, if you want to deploy your Microsoft Java apps in the Kubernetes, specifically for high scalability, maybe 10,000 pods or 100 pods, and also fast startup time for event-driven application and reactive application, also serverless apps. In specific cases, Quarkus make your application Kubernetes native Java app also integrate some of the Kubernetes resources like a config map, secret, pretty easily using Quarkus extension. Maybe you can understand like a Maven dependency or graduate modules. All right, so ready to become the superhero with the Quarkus for your cloud native Java app. So let me stop my slide deck and let's get right into my demo environment. So yeah, this is weird. Okay, so I already generate my project. So you can actually create a project from quarkus.io, go to code.quarkus.io. You can select some of the application dependency or capability. Let me show you real quick here. Okay, so how do you do that? So it's gonna be hide or something here. Okay, so anyway, so I already generate my Quarkus project using Quarkus CLI, but you can actually download in a G file from the code.quarkus.io webpage. And I'm pretty sure you already watched a previous Quarkus session or you got some experience to develop Quarkus separate application. So I already created a sample application. Just select here a few RESTful API, just a hello world. One of the hello world is hello JPOK, and then the other one is a hello JPOK with some name. It's not hardcore, but I just read this variable from my local file system, which is application property, like my name is Dan, and also to the other RESTful APIs to access the database. So one of the challenge for developer to stand up technology stack on local environment compared to production. So production, for example, use a PostSQL database to store business data. However, in local environment, I don't want to pull container image or I don't want to install PostSQL database. In that case, you properly use in-memory database like H2 database, which is still valid to verify my application features and capabilities. However, sometimes that kind of technology gap occurs some kind of error because you cannot be sure if your all business functionality are working on your local and production at the same time. So Quarkus Dev Services allows developer to stand up the technology stack, for example, database and messaging broker and in-memory data. And then some of the stuff, the Quarkus automatically stand up the container as long as you have a prepared container runtime like a Podman, Docker on your local environment. So I'm going to use, when you just take a look at that Podman XML, I already pulled down some stuff. So we just released 2.13, but I just created this project last night, 2.12.3, just in case. And then I just pulled down some of the dependency here, REST easy to deal with the RESTful APIs. And then I just added a PostSQL for the JDBC connection. And then the ORM mapping, here's the Hibernate ORM panache. And then here is the Jackson, REST each Jackson, to process and consume JSON format data. That's it. I didn't anything here, just the normal Maven and dependencies, my POMX ML. Here's the Java entity. And then one thing good for me, when I extend the panache entity, which is integrated Hibernate ORM in Around to use active record pattern to handle my data transaction. So if you have some experience Spring Boot, you maybe need to add the getter setter, Java beans to OR mapping. Also, you need to implement a fundamental operational thing like get list all data and then find by specific ID or delete and create something like that, like a CRUD capabilities. However, the Quarkus enable Java developer to have a panache with the Hibernate ORM or reactive program as well. You can just skip that kind of fundamental operation implementation. So that's it. That's I wanted to attribute like a name and address. And the one method here just export the person RESTful API, just retrieve all data from my database like a list all. I don't have any effort to implement with all and bound by ID. Okay, so let's try to run my application here. The first thing, I'm going to run the Quarkus step. And then here's my another terminal. I don't have any running process here, a container process here. When I run Quarkus step, and it automatically figure out what kind of dependency already pulled in. And then as an example, I already pulled in the JDBC PostSQL, which Quarkus trigger standing up a test container and PostSQL database automatically. And I go back to here and I try to rerun the Docker process. I can see test container and PostSQL automatically running on. However, when I go back to application properly, I don't have any configuration how to access a PostSQL database running on my local machine. So when I just running on press W from my runtime, it brings me into welcome page, and then you can actually go to hello, which is see the hello JBroK as an example, just simple RESTful API, and then go to dev UI. It showcase graphical interface for developer. It makes them more comfortable and easier to understand what kind of dependency I already have, and then also showcase the graphical interface of configuration and even dev service as well. When I click on dev service, you can see the Quarkus automatically set up for you the database configuration like a password, and then DB kind and the JDBC URL and a username here. You can actually override on your property file or YAML file, but I'm going to just leave it by default because I want to showcase how Quarkus increase the developer productivity to develop the Microsoft application. In the end, it will show the developer the shortest path, make your Kubernetes never application here. Okay, so I'm gonna go to back to the terminal. Let's try to access some stuff. But for that, I'm gonna try to go back to dev UI and then open the read-only terminal, which is a cool stuff. So if you are prepared to use the GUI, you can just stay here. So see the read-only and then click on it triggered the continuous testing here. So when I go to continuous testing, and then it automatically start up continuous testing feature, which really is a super important and super beneficial thing for developers, because a lot of enterprise company really want a developer to continue test-driven development practices, but developer don't have enough time to bring or enable continuous testing or test-driven library or some kind of tool into their local environment and IDE tool. However, Quarkus actually provide out-of-box feature continuous testing, because I don't need to even enable like a third-party tool on my POM XML, but it automatically start continuous testing. And we got some error here. As you can see, one of the test cases fail, because you can see, so expanded the hello JBoK, but actually it's JBoK exclamation. So however, when you go to terminal window, and you can see the same error. So if you prefer terminal, and then you can go for here. And then let's try to check the hello. So your function is still working. However, you just failed your test cases. So this is just super important thing for developer who really want to do test-driven development practices. So sometimes you got some error on your local environment, but you don't even recognize the kind of thing, because you just verify your application itself rather than test case, because test case actually take care of your test environment or production environment stack. So this is avoid some potential error when you deploy application into production environment. So let's try to fix the problem pretty quick. Here is my test case here. I just add the fix the code, and then back to the UI, and now you can see it test all passed, which is cool. I just save a file, and then it automatically rerun test case as well as, and then the functions still working, and then go back to the other terminal. You can see the test case passing, which is cool. So, and then even if I change the code in the library coding capability, make me avoid the necessary step in the inner development process, such as recompile, rebuild, and redeploy and restart application. All right, let's try to access a few more less endpoint. For example, greeting, and then hello JBoK then, and then what about the person? I got three data which I implement in the impulse SQL file here. Then, and then if I access this specific ID, like then from Boston, because I'm based on Boston. Okay, here's go. So now I have a Kubernetes cluster. Next thing, what I wanted to do is I just deploy this application to verify my application still working into Kubernetes. So in order to do that, I just needed to add one extension, Quarkus extension OpenShift, which allows me packaging application as a container and deploy to Kubernetes automatically. So once I done, and then back to my application, and but for that, I'm still running my runtime, Quarkus runtime, and then when you go back to dev UI and the configuration editor, and then you can see that then I can change that from like a graphical UI editor. I just save a file, save the configuration, and back to the terminal. And then let's try to access that endpoint. And now you can see I just changed that. What happened? Because when I go back to my project and the application properly, it automatically changed my local file system as well at the same time, which is cool. However, one thing you missed it, because your continuous testing will be just fail, because I just changed my application properly, but my actual the test cases didn't change that. So that's why I got fail here. So I'm gonna back to my test case, and then let's try to fix my problem before I deploy application. And then I just pass to unit test, which is cool. Okay, let's try to back to the application properly. Now I'm gonna set my actual PostSQL compilation in the production environment. Let's say here PostSQL, and I'm going to try to use the person data schema and table, and I'm going to try to drop to create. And then, so this is all production compilation. So, okay, so username user and the superscript and true. And then, so script, and which is import the SQL file. And then here's a few things that Kubernetes deploy. I'm gonna deploy the Kubernetes, and then deploy target, which is Kubernetes or OpenShift. I'm gonna try to use OpenShift based on Kubernetes. I'm actually using Developer Sandbox, which is one of the Red Hat developer program. When you sign in the developers at redhat.com, you can have a 30 days free Red Hat OpenShift cluster based on Kubernetes. And then I'm gonna just try to expose route URL with the app.jn. And then the OpenShift cluster developer sandbox actually used the TLS termination. So I'm gonna set that thing. And then let's try go back to terminal. And then I can start my local environment here, and then make sure I log in the Kubernetes cluster, DOH-dev. And then here is my Kubernetes cluster. You can see DOH-dev, and there's no pod at a time. And I'm going to deploy my application here. And then next thing is, as you can see, so my application, so I just verify my application features and the functionality are still working on Kubernetes just because I already used the continuous testing and then live coding, which allows me have some confidence this application totally working from my local into Kubernetes. This is just the first step. Just make sure your application working on Kubernetes. In the meantime, let's try to add, create a new database. Here is the PostSQL. So create a new PostSQL and a database name, just like a person, and then the username user, and then password for secret, and the database name person, and just create a new one for my application deploy. So behind the scene, when you run the Quarkus CLI or Maven clean packaging, it build like a thin jar or a fast jar, and then create a container image and then push that image into integrate container registry inside OpenShift cluster. You can also use your external container registry like a Docker Hub or Quay.io Google Container Registry. And then lastly, you can this image of pulling down your available worker nodes. Okay, so Quarkus is almost deployed, and in the meantime, I'm gonna add one label. Shift.io runtime equal press L. So make it a differentiating kind of thing. And then here's the Quarkus application I just deploy. And then when I click on the pod logs, you can see the data automatically created and also provide production compilation activated. Now back to the terminal. And now I'm gonna just copy the link URL just to confirm application is working. Hello. And the hello for J4K and greeting and Daniel. And let's try to add like a person. So now you can see it's exactly the same thing. So one concern, so is that in the end, make my application microservice to Kubernetes native Java? That's not, because you store your variable into your file system. For example, like a Daniel variable, and then here's a username password in your file system. Let's ship this kind of variable from your file system into Kubernetes, make your application Kubernetes Java. So first of all, so let's go back to here. It's one of the beauty of the developer sandbox. It allows creating Kubernetes config net in GUI. So let's say my config, like my config, and then I'm gonna just need to one thing, like my config rename is my just drag it down to. Okay, and then I just copy the key and then create a new one. You can also create like a complement secret, like a kubectl, like a kubectl, like a username user and a user secret and the password. Okay, I just create that, and when you go back to like a dev UI and you can open the console UI, you can see new DB credential is already created too as well. Super cool. And then back to the application. Now I'm gonna try to add another configuration here, configure property and the name, which is I just copy from them, and string like a name by Q, and then I just change that here. Let's change it here, and then go back to application, and now I just delete it and username just like a key, and here is password. And one more thing, I needed to add the Kubernetes config extension. It allows developer to enable Kubernetes stuff. So let's try to Kubernetes and then just edit. Okay, so give you one moment and then it automatically pop up Kubernetes config map, which is my config, and also Kubernetes config map enable true. And also I'm gonna try to use secret is the secret name here. You can go to here, the secret name, the DB credential. DB credential. And then I just also needed to enable true. Okay, this is cool. And then I just needed to back to here. And then one more time, I just needed to focus the bill once again. So I just to make my Microsoft's application Java apps, it's more like a Kubernetes Java apps because I just get rid of my configuration like a traditional way store my reference local file system, but I just try to use config. So one of the benefit when I use Kubernetes native stuff, whenever my application pod scale down or scale out, and then even kill with an exceptional error, so Kubernetes automatically attach config map and secret automatically rather than your about stuff. So it's more flexible way and it's more best practice how to use Kubernetes thing. And in the end, your Microsoft's application, you can say my application Kubernetes Java apps. All right. So back to the terminal, it's almost done, and we just done here. And back to the dev console here, and then so it your application could be rolling out, redeploy. As you can see, oh, we got some error here. Oh, interesting. It rolls. Oh, my config. Okay, so I think there are some typo here. Oh, my config. I think I my config. That is the right name. Okay, let me try to that. So we are almost running over time. So let me try to go back to my slide deck. And then if there's some little bit more time, I'm going back to my terminal window. So wrap up thing. So I already make some video with some kind of this demo, how to make your Java apps in the Kubernetes Java, just go to visit my YouTube channel, the bin URL Daniel TV, and here's a scan the QR code, pretty easily access your mobile phone, and feel free to subscribe my channel and ask any question around the specific demo, and you are very welcome. Give me some idea or suggestion or inspiration if you really want to learn about something Kubernetes is not native Java stuff. Okay, I think I'm done, and then try to go back to terminal, and then hopefully it should be working at this moment. And I don't have enough time to showcase today, but there's one more thing you need to be aware. The Quarkus remote dev, it allows you a connector from your local and then Kubernetes environment, and then it's kind of automatically connected from local to remote to Kubernetes, so you can have live coding capability. Okay, so let's go to Kubernetes. Yeah, we got something kind of new, and then let's try to back to the terminal window, and then try to greeting. Oh, we got some error. Oh yes, it's local one. Okay, back here. I just need to copy my address one more thing. And then try to hello and greeting. So now we have a new configuration from compute rather than file system. And also try to make sure my database retrieving is also working. Here we go. And then like a first one from Daniel and Boston. So that's it. That's what I'm going to talking today, and hopefully you enjoyed my session and demo. And then I tried to explain how to make your just normal microservices to become cloud-native Java apps. And then Lawrence, is there any question in there? Okay, let me try to take a look at the chat room here. Okay, so the question is, how does Kubernetes knowledge Java developers? So I don't understand quietly this question. Is there some kind of meaning? So what kind of Kubernetes knowledge help the Java developer, or what kind of knowledge Java developer needed to know? So for that, so just like I showed today, so you needed to consider get rid of as much as possible your computation or some kind of static code from your file system or computation file into Kubernetes. Also, if you can manage some of the services discovery or resiliency or like a externalized configuration from your local code, it should be treated by Kubernetes itself rather than your Java code. That's to make your application become Kubernetes Java apps. Okay, I have 2 minutes left, which is cool. I don't think I have a more question. Maybe I'm gonna try to one more thing here, my project. Maybe I'm gonna showcase if I have more time. Packaging. Package type, and then library load it, which is a password with my local, and then my local and remote Kubernetes cluster. Okay, I just copy the actual target part here, and then Kubernetes OpenShift, parse and then progress, crunchy, developable, true. Okay, so I'm gonna try to deploy one more time. And then it actually, once I deploy, and then I can actually start Quarkus remote dev on my local. And then whenever I change the code, the Quarkus remote dev demo automatically detect which source code file is changed there recently, and then just a packaging job file or just picking up that file and then just sending to your remote cluster automatically in a second. And then you can have a same rapid coding capability, just like a local environment between your local to remote Kubernetes cluster. This is a really cool feature because sometimes your SRE just ask you got some problem in your production environment. However, you cannot easily find out the error at the moment because the Kubernetes already killed the pod and restore based on the replica set and the hash check and something like that. So if you could troubleshoot that issue from your local to product like a Kubernetes environment, which is really super cool. Okay, so I think I'm done. If you have any question, just feel free to reach out to me directly by Twitter or my YouTube channel. Or, oh, it's a good thing. I can have a more 4 minute more. It's really cool. Okay, so let me try to go back to UI and then, so this is deploy new application. Okay. Oh, after the adding one, I gotta saw another error. Find config map, not find map. Geez, so weird. Ah, my config. Oh yeah, this is still weird. Okay. Okay, my config. Okay, so this cool. Focus involuntary focus launch and demo. Okay, so I'm gonna have more time, 4 minutes. And back to the terminal. And then give me one try, make it a little bit slower. So when you have some issue in the production, even not like a test environment, like an internal developer platform, which the platform engineer provides for individual developers. And then if you could have live coding capability from your local and the target Kubernetes environment, it'll be pretty easier to find out the root cause, and then you could easily fix that problem. So this is the way how to make that happen with the Quarkus remote dev, specifically Kubernetes environment. But I don't want to say you always need to run Quarkus remote dev to one of your Kubernetes environment. So this is only for like a troubleshooting or just a quick task in the Kubernetes environment. Because if you make some mistake to connect to the actual production environment with the remote demo, it allows you to change your application at the live coding immediately. It could be happen like a very critical problem in production environment right away. So, but this is one of the good feature to increase your developer productivity as well. Okay, so finger crossed, it is time. I'm gonna try to go back to here and take a look at that, and a new application is running, and then try to view logs. And oh, it's still production, and then go back to here, the mutable jar, and a password. Shift E typo here. ENV and bar focus launch and demo. Okay. Hopefully this is our last trial to deploy application. And then one of the good thing is, so using the Gradle command line and the Maven command line or even Quarkus CLI command line, it allows the developer to build application and containerize the application and deploy Kubernetes and OpenShift cluster directly with just one single command line. You don't need to write it down like a Docker file or Docker compose file and a Kubernetes YAML file, which includes like a Kubernetes manifest, like a service and service account or deployment and replica set, etc. So pretty easy to access that kind of stuff. Okay, so once I run and then try to run, I saw I have just 1 minute left, by the way, but hopefully it's time you're gonna run the application. Maybe so once again, thanks for joining my session today. And if you have any question, So feel free to drop it and put on the chat and select channel, or you can more than welcome to reach out to me directly by Twitter or LinkedIn, even if the YouTube channel. All right, I think so done. And then, okay, we don't have any question more. And then here's the last thing. And then new deployment. So create a new one. Okay, so new deployment. And then, yeah, so that's it. That's what I want to showcase today. All right. And then, yeah, thanks again joining my session, and hope you enjoy the rest of JPOK and have a good rest of all.